Hello, everybody. It's me, Bigfoot, Michigan Rob. It's Friday, April 28th. You know what that means. It's time for another subscriber or emailer encounter. This comes from a subscriber. Pretty cool story. I call this Devil Lake Dogman. This guy went out to Devil Lake in Wisconsin State Park. He was just outside of the state park, so I'll get on with that in a minute. If you're new here, please subscribe to Bigfoot Michigan Rob on YouTube. Those of you that have already subscribed, I love and appreciate each and every single one of you. Please share me out. Give a thumbs up. After the story, I always ask you guys to leave a comment. I love your comments. Let me know what you think. Was this Dogman? Was it not? The super thanks is open for those of you that care to donate. I appreciate that. If not, again, just keep on coming in and watching these shows and our live shows. Brunch with Bigfoot, Mr. Rob, and Beyond BMR on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Thank you ever so much. Let's get on with it. Hi, Rob. I can be referred to as Dan for this email. I found your channel last year and finally decided to send in my story. Summer of 2011 at Devil's Lake State Park in Wisconsin. I had one of the scariest experiences of my life. It was the weekend of my 30th birthday in June. My friend Jack and I decided to go camping just outside of the park, as we were unsure if you could overstay or spend the night at Devil Lake Park, so we stayed on the outskirts. Jack and I had heard about possible Bigfoot sightings in a section at Devil's Park, so Jack and I, amateur Bigfoot researchers, had decided to take to the forest and look for some evidence. My friend Jack and I had been looking for Bigfoot for about 3 years and have come across potential scat, hair, and we even have a cast of a 19-inch track. It's a pretty cool cast with 5 distinct toes. However, it does beg the question that if it was human, or was it not human? What I mean by that, Rob, is this. I don't know anybody that walks around the forest barefoot. Yeah, I don't think they do either, my friend. Weirder things have occurred in my life, but anyways, I wouldn't be surprised. We found a great campsite just outside of Devil's Lake State Park. We had the option to do our research in our surrounding forest outside of the park, and then venture on the state grounds and conduct research over there. We had heard of several Bigfoot sightings around the lake, reported by fishermen and some of the people that rent and paddle along in kayaks. So we decided this would be on our list to explore. The first morning of our day started with a 3-mile hike just off of our campsite. We immediately found tree branch breaks about 7 feet off the ground. They were fresh breaks. You could see the white and yellow fibers that did not appear to be very old. The breaks were not due to weather, as there was not any storms in the area for several months. Again, that did not matter. The branch was at least 3 or 4 inches in diameter. It was not a lightning strike, nor was it from ice or snow weighing it down from the winter. This was a fresh break within the last few days. Jack and I were excited at this prospect. We continued on down the trail. About 100 yards in, we found what appeared to be canine tracks. The tracks went on for several feet. You could see 3 very distinct digits, of which appeared to be claws extending outward from those digits. We took a measurement from the digits through to the end of the apparent claws, and it was 6 inches long. The entire length of the print was over 8 inches and 4 inches wide. I know what bear tracks look like. This was not a bear track, and certainly was not a wolf track. This had to be something, but what was it? Jack and I were perplexed. We dared not to think Dogman. Sure, we hear of the creature and what we had heard, we wanted no such part of this cryptid. Don't even want to see it. Chills ran down my spine at the thought of such a beast. Jack got an uneasy feeling and suggested that we head back to our campsite. On our way back to camp, both Jack and I thought we were being followed. We stopped, looked at each other, and told each other that we were just being paranoid and our imaginations were getting the best of us, with discovering that unknown massive track earlier. We made it back to camp, much to our relief. Upon settling in back at camp, we lit a fire and prepared to cook 2 New York strip steaks we brought from home. We laughed about bringing and cooking steaks. We were supposed to hunt and fish for our food, or maybe shoot some squirrels, make it a true outdoorsman adventure. We also decided to enjoy the steaks as the only other food that we brought along was beef jerky and a couple cans of beans. We did this purposely, of course, allowing us to actually be forced into doing some fishing or small game hunting. It was not deer season, so anything that we hunted would had to have been a squirrel or small rodent. I gotta tell you, Rob, the thought of eating a squirrel or rodent just isn't very appetizing. He laughs. We figured it just would be best to fish for our meals after the steak and beans were gone. Jack and I both love fresh fish from the lake, so this would indeed be our main source for food. While we started to prepare our steaks, Jack and I decided to make plans to head over to Devil's Lake State Park. We were kind of relieved by this decision, as those tracks we found earlier did not sit well with us, even as we tried to ignore it. After all, we were safe in our camp and had not heard any Dogman sightings in this area, just Bigfoot. That was our goal anyway. We were much more comfortable with the prospect of searching for Bigfoot. We finished our steaks and sat around the fire, getting excited at our excursion to the park the next morning. The sun was already down, and Jack and I decided to turn in for the night. We had a comfortable pop-up tent that easily was big enough for the both of us to sleep in. We also could store some of our wares with the rest of our belongings tucked away in our Jeep that we drove up in. I am unsure of the time. I am guessing somewhat past midnight. The moon was high and bright, fully illuminating the area that surrounded us. We were in the middle of the woods with the tree line surrounding us from all directions. Our Jeep was parked not more than 20 or 30 feet from the tent as we drifted off to sleep. Suddenly, we were awakened by ferocious howling in the distance. The howls grew louder, they grew closer. The howls, they frightened us. Jack and I dared not to get out of the tent. We remembered the prints we found earlier, and our imaginations started racing about Dogman. These were not Dogman howls, at least I don't think they were. At least we both tried to tell each other that they weren't, Rob. However, we could not identify these insane vocalizations. Then the howls stopped, but in the place of the sounds we heard walking around the Jeep. Bipedal heavy walking. And once again, over by the Jeep, we heard a blood-curdling scream and what appeared to be a scraping sound like metal on metal. The shrills and scraping lasted only for a few minutes, which seemed like an eternity. Upon the ending of these sounds, we heard the smashing of glass and a huge thud. With our hearts racing, Jack and I waited at least 10 minutes before exiting our tent. We walked towards the Jeep, where we identified the sounds coming from, of course, and we were amazed at our finding. The sound of the breaking glass was the front windshield of the Jeep. What was even more horrific was deep scrapes and gouges in the doors of the vehicle. The impressions cut deep, at least a quarter inch into the metal. The scratch marks ran 3 rows abreast and looked like claw marks. Again, to make matters even worse, and realizing our suspicions, we found those same wolf-like prints surrounding the ground about the Jeep. Was this the Dogman, Jack and I said aloud? We questioned each other. We did not stick around very long to find out. We cleaned up the glass on the seats of the Jeep, packed up, and fled the campsite. Needless to say, my search, as well as Jack's search for Bigfoot, has come to an abrupt end. We're not scared of Bigfoot. It's that other unknown phenomena that has forever struck fear into my heart. The Dogman. Signed, Dan. I guess that's interesting. Not a visual, howls, prints, deep gouges, scrapes in the side of the Jeep, smashing out of the window. It sounds like Dogman, right? We never really know, do we? Unless we see something. But what can you explain that? Can you explain it as a bear? Does a bear smash out windshields? Do they scratch up cars? Do they leave those oversized prints? I know bear tracks can get to be pretty big. I don't even know if this state park in Wisconsin has bears or wolves for that matter. I didn't look into it. I got the email. I read it to you guys. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think. I thought it was a cool story. I appreciate the stories I get. I think you guys do too. Again, have a great weekend. I'm Bigfoot Michigan Rob. Until next week, I'll catch you on the flip side. Bye.